Ever since I can remember, my parents loved my sister more than me. I don't mean in small ways. If my sister accused me of something, they'd believe her and punish me. If I accused her, they wouldn't believe me. Even if I had proof, her punishment would be small, and they'd still find a way to scold me. My birthday cake had to be a flavor she wanted. Her cake was always what she wanted, and my parents would pretend they didn't know I hated that flavor. They always bought her more things than me. We always went where she wanted to go, even if the event was supposed to be about me. My sister grew up spoiled. She didn't like me, she just used me as a punching bag. At first, she mostly ignored me. But things got really bad when we were young teenagers. I'm not sure why, but she suddenly had no friends. Maybe they moved, or maybe they left her because she was mean. I don't know because we were never close. My parents always bragged about her successes but never mentioned any problems. They loved to bring up all my flaws as teasing. I only knew she had no friends because we went to the same school, and I saw her walking alone. So, she had no friends but I did. I was pretty popular back then. When my sister realized this, I went from being an occasional punching bag to someone she hated and needed to destroy. She started accusing me of more and more things. She accused my friends of things. My parents stopped letting me hang out with anyone. Their excuses were, "Your sister says they're not good people," or, "Why are you trying to leave us? Be like your sister and enjoy family time." What saved me from being completely alone was my extended family. Most of my family lived in the same hometown, and I got along with my cousins. At one family gathering, they invited me to go somewhere. I sadly told them I wasn't allowed to go anywhere. When they asked why, my kid self told the truth. I'm not allowed to have friends because my sister doesn't have any. Well, the other adults heard about that. They were apparently furious with my parents. Later, my parents scolded me for lying and grounded me, like I had anywhere to go. But after that, they had to let me see my cousins, so it was worth it. My sister also changed schools. I guess she was humiliated that our family knew she had no friends, so she demanded to move. My parents immediately said yes, even though it cost them more money. She made friends at her new school, but she never went back to just ignoring me. I guess she liked the power she had to mess up my life. My life was still hard. Her friends would come over and bully me, and my parents just called it light teasing. I never invited my friends over because my parents were awful to them, or my sister would accuse them of stealing, and my parents would believe her. I did get very close to my cousins though, since my parents never dared to treat family that way. Then I got my first boyfriend. I didn't want to bring him home, but my parents insisted. One day, he came to find me and told me my sister was flirting with him. He said she came over in skimpy clothes and started telling him how bad I was and how great she was. He was weirded out and left to find me. Of course, my sister told my parents a different story. That my boyfriend tried to flirt with her. Guess who my parents believed? I immediately believed my boyfriend, for a mean reason. I was a teenager, and I was very resentful. I hated my sister as much as she hated me. Here's the thing. My parents are overweight. Since they show love with food, my sister was also overweight. I was skinny because my punishments often included no snacks. Looks aren't what matters, of course, but my sister also had a terrible, spoiled personality. Even her flirting was bad. So, even as a self-conscious teen, I just didn't believe my boyfriend would try to cheat on me with her. Anyway, my parents forbade me from dating such a horrible boy. I tried to see him in secret, but it didn't last. I got another boyfriend, and the exact same thing happened. My sister accused him of flirting with her, and my parents believed her. I pointed out the pattern, but they just said it proved I had bad judgment and kept picking bad guys. That relationship ended too. My sister brought one boyfriend home during that time. My parents paraded him around and kept telling me how great he was. Then he suddenly stopped showing up, and all they said was that he was a bastard who tricked my sister. The unequal treatment continued. She had more spending money and a later curfew. I pointed out that when I reached her age, I still didn't have the same freedom. They just denied it or said I couldn't be trusted, using her lies as proof. Time went by, and my sister graduated high school. She got into a college, but not a very good one, and she had no scholarship. My parents made a huge deal about it and told her they would pay for everything. I was just relieved she would be gone. but she still came home on weekends to find ways to make my life miserable. Eventually, my mom talked to me about my graduation. I'm a year younger. She told me that since they were paying for my sister's college, they had no money left to pay for mine. She said it would be better for me to start working and wait until my sister finished. Then they would see if they could afford to help me. Oh, and if I lived at home, I'd have to pay rent and bills. I pointed out that I could get student loans. My mom said yes, but no. She said that because they cared about me and my bad judgment, they would decide which college was worth me going into debt for. I didn't even blink. I just said, okay. My mom seemed to expect a tantrum. But I knew this was coming. After a lifetime of their terrible parenting, I never ever expected them to help me. I knew they would find an excuse. I had been preparing for this. Since I could barely go out and had few friends, I had a lot of time to study. I studied like crazy because I saw college as my only way to be free. Well, the time came. I worked my butt off and got a full scholarship. It wasn't to an Ivy League school, but it was a good course at a good college. Knowing my sister would try to stop me, I posted my good news on social media at the exact same time I told my parents. I even forced myself to thank them in the post. Now they couldn't forbid me from going without looking bad to the whole family. At first, they were even a little proud. But then I guess my sister got to them. They changed their tune and asked if I was sure I wanted to go. They let slip that my sister wasn't doing well in college, and, since she's smarter than you, you'll probably fail. I stuck to my guns. They weren't happy, but they couldn't stop me. College saved my life. I started to be happy. I still visited them on holidays, but since they refused to pay for anything, I could use no money as an excuse not to visit often. During this time, my sister dropped out of college. I know she didn't graduate, or they would have thrown a huge party. Moved back home, paying no rent of course, and started working at my mom's company. Almost there, I promise. I met my husband around this time. He is the complete opposite of me. I'm meek and a doormat. I'm the person who cries when I'm angry. My husband is the guy who claps back immediately. He loves to resolve drama. He's the guy who, if you slight him, will get you back, but 10 times worse. He's the one who wanted me to post this. People were surprised I got with him, but I love that he does all the things I can't. And he's a wonderful person, as long as you're nice to him. When we decided to get married, we didn't care much about a big ceremony. We wanted to save our money for a dream honeymoon in Europe. We decided to have the wedding in my hometown since my family was there. Naturally, my parents demanded to meet my fiancé. The distance had made me soft, and I was having a hard time saying no. When I told my fiancé, he looked like I just canceled Christmas. Because he had been preparing for this. He had bought a high-quality audio recorder to hide in his pocket. He was excited to record my sister's flirting attempts, insult her, and then spread the recording to my whole family. So, he went to meet them alone, all excited. He came back later looking euphoric. Babe, you won't believe the awful shit they wanted. We can fuck them over so bad. I was confused. He smartly told me to listen to him first before hearing the recording, or I'd misunderstand. Well, he went there, and instead of my sister flirting, my parents and sister sat him down. They told him they were willing to pay for our wedding. On one condition. My sister would walk down the aisle on my wedding day, first, in a wedding dress. Their excuse was that it wasn't fair for the younger sister to get married first, so my sister deserved to have the experience of a wedding. At my venue. With my photographer. My husband will now type his part. Hey! Vengeful husband here. As much as my wife, Teehee, paints me as this quick-witted guy, I admit my brain short-circuited when they suggested that. But after my brain rebooted, I had a million insults ready. Then, a little devil on my shoulder whispered, "String these fucks along." So I just said I needed to think about it and talk to my, then, fiancé, and I ran out of there. Back to me, the wife. So, my husband told me how my family wanted to make even my wedding about my sister. He had the recording to prove it. I was shocked. The distance had softened my memory of how bad they were. Thankfully, my husband focusing on revenge helped me not get depressed. We had a great time brainstorming ways to screw them over. We called his level-headed brother, who pointed out that our first ideas, like giving them a fake address, were too complicated or illegal. So we settled on a simple plan. Act like we agreed, but then hire security and not let her in. Obviously, that's not all. The rest was mostly my husband's work. He went back to my parents. He told them I wouldn't agree to the plan, but he didn't see the problem and wanted to help. He suggested a compromise. They should help pay for the wedding. That way, I would feel too guilty and grateful to them to make a scene when I was surprised by my sister at the altar. My sister literally started skipping with joy. They agreed. Important. My husband also told them that because of my bad judgment in boyfriends, his idea to use their own words against them, I was now controlling and suspicious. He said I always checked his phone. Because of this, it was critical that nothing about this plan was ever put in writing. For any discussions, he would come to their house in person. And so began months of deception. My parents and sister thought they were tricking me. My husband and I were just milking them. How? Well, they wanted input on everything. For things I really cared about, like my music, my husband would convince them to let me have my way to keep me happy. But for everything else, we'd go check out the food options. We'd pick the cheapest one. Then, my husband would secretly take my sister to try it. He'd sigh and say it was a pity we couldn't afford the best options. Cue my sister demanding my parents pay for the most expensive menu. They'd then tell me not to worry, they would surprise me with an upgrade. They did the same for the photographer and the flowers. We hit one problem. The dress. My parents wanted me to wear an ugly dress. My mom sent me a message about it, so there would be written proof. I had to refuse in text and stand my ground. My husband went over and agreed with my sister's suggestion to just ruin my real dress so I'd be forced to wear the ugly one. And yes, the thought of my husband calling me a controlling bitch to my family is hilarious to me. I egged him on. We called it back pay for emotional damages. My husband had more fun tricking them than planning the actual wedding. Soon the day came. The plan was for my sister to arrive late, right before me, and walk down the aisle. As for my dress, we saved extra fabric for my alterations. My husband took it to their house, showed it to them as proof he'd ruined my dress, and then ran off, pretending I was raging. We hired security and kept him hidden at first. After my parents arrived and sat down, we brought out our security guard. We told him not to let my sister in, no matter what. The time came. My dad told the bridesmaids to start. My bridesmaids, who were in on it, obeyed. After they all went down, my dad stood at the entrance, waiting for my sister. During this, a friend who was in on the plan texted me to get ready. As soon as my dad was in position, the bridal song started, the doors opened, and I came in. My dad looked horrified. He glanced behind me, but he couldn't see the entrance. And then his phone rang. I saw the caller ID. It was my sister. He just mumbled, something came up, and left me standing there alone at the front of the church. Everyone gasped. My friend the spy loudly asked, "What happened?" I lied and in a teary voice I said, "He told me it wasn't supposed to be me there." That's not what he said, but we had planned that line to make him look as bad as possible. The tears were real though. A part of me didn't think he'd actually abandon me. My friend then yelled, "What did he mean it shouldn't be you?" So everyone could hear. Then she ran off to check, but really she was going to go make the drama at the door even worse. My mom left too. At this point, my husband's dad ran over and took my arm. He had been warned this might happen. I walked down the aisle to whispers. But when I reached my husband, he whispered, "Your sad face is so real, you deserve an Oscar. Don't worry, I'll destroy them for this." We got married without a hitch. My parents never came back. Here's what happened outside, according to my friends, family, and the security guard. My sister arrived in her wedding dress. The security guard refused to let her in. He claimed she must be at the wrong wedding, because there's already a bride. My dad came out and threatened to call the police. The guard agreed he should call the police, since he was just doing his job. At this point, my friend came over and started yelling at my sister, asking what was going on, and basically stalling for time. My mom and other people came out. The plan was ruined. All my parents could do was damage control, but everyone was horrified. My parents and sister tried to throw my husband under the bus, claiming he was in on it. At this point, my husband was summoned. He went out and put on his best confused face. He denied everything. Gaslight, gatekeep, Girl boss, as he says. When they insisted, he demanded proof. They had none. They said, "We have no proof because you told us not to text." My husband just laughed and said, "Wow, how convenient. Why would I ever agree to something so messed up?" He yelled at them for being awful parents and then came back to me. No one believed them. My sister was apparently sitting on the floor, crying and kicking her legs like a child. My dad looked like he wanted to hit my husband, but security held him back. People were filming it. Watching them get ripped apart by everyone after years of no one believing me. It was the best wedding gift. Eventually, they were told to leave. My dad had to literally drag my sister off the ground. Everyone at the reception was extra nice to me, trying to protect me from the drama. We had a blast. Of course, after the wedding, the three of them tried to contact me. I refused to answer calls, following my husband's paper trail rule. My sister finally sent me an unhinged text message. The important part was that she called my husband a two-faced snake that fooled them for months, he wants to frame that, and said she hoped he cheated on me. My husband took my phone, screenshotted everything. The missed calls, my sister's crazy texts, my parents' demanding messages. He sent it all to our entire family group chat. He wrote a message begging our family for help. He said my parents were harassing me and trying to ruin my honeymoon, just like they tried to ruin my wedding. He finished by asking them not to share our location, so my parents couldn't send my sister over, and then claim he had agreed to something with her in our honeymoon suite. Our family was furious at them, not us, and promised to take care of it. And since then, we've had total silence. We'll see if it lasts. I would have preferred a normal, loving family. But, for the first time in my life, they failed to ruin something for me. And I got them back. It's the perfect wedding gift.